The Life and Sad Ending of Spring Byington. Spring Dell Byington was born October 17, 1886, in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The daughter of Edwin Lee Byington, an educator and superintendent of schools in Colorado, and his wife, Helene Maud Byington. She had a younger sister, Helene Kimball Byington. Her father died in 1891, and her mother sent her younger daughter to live with her grandparents in Port Hope, Ontario, while Spring remained with relatives in Denver. Byington performed occasionally in amateur shows as a student, graduating from North High School in 1904. In 1903, Byington had joined a repertory company, Belasco de Mil Company of New York, that was touring Buenos Aires, Argentina. Among the plays that she performed in Buenos Aires was Dr. Morris, written by Dr. Alberto del Solar. In 1909, Spring Byington married Roy Chandler, the manager of the theater troupe with which she worked in Buenos Aires. They remained there until 1916, when Spring returned to New York to give birth to her first daughter, Phyllis Helene. Her second daughter, Lois Irene, was born in 1917. The couple divorced in about 1920. Upon returning to New York, Byington divided her time between working in Manhattan and staying with her daughters. Her daughters were living with friends J. Allen and Lois Babcock in Leonardsville, New York, who were taking care of them while Byington worked in the city. She began touring in 1919 with a production of The Bird of Paradise, which brought the Hawaiian culture to the mainland, and in 1921 began work with the Stuart Walker Company, for which she played roles in Mr. Pym Passes By, The Ruined Lady, and Rollo's Wild Oat, among others. This connection landed her a role in her first Broadway performance in 1924, George S. Kaufman and Mark Connolly's Beggar on Horseback, which ran for 6 months. She renewed the role in March and April 1925 and continued on Broadway with an additional 18 productions in the 10 years from 1925 to 1935. These included roles in Kaufman and Moss Hart's Once in a Lifetime, Rachel Carruthers' When Ladies Meet, and Dawn Powell's Jigsaw. In her last years on Broadway, Byington began to work in films. The first was a short film entitled Papa's Sleigh Ride in 1930, where she played the role of Mama, and the second role, and better known, was in Little Women, 1933, as Marmee, with Katharine Hepburn as her daughter Jo. For MGM, she played Midshipman Roger Byam's Franchotone mother in Mutiny on the Bounty in 1935. She became a household name during the Jones Family series on films and continued as a character actress in Hollywood for several years. Spring's only Oscar nomination came with her delightful portrayal of eccentric Penny Sycamore in You Can't Take It With You in 1938. During World War II, Byington worked in radio and decided to continue working in this medium as her film career began to decline after the war. In 1952, she joined CBS Radio to become the lead role of the widowed Lily Ruskin in the sitcom December Bride. In 1954, the television company Desilu Productions produced a pilot of the show for a sitcom, also starring Byington. The pilot was successful, and the new hit sitcom aired in its first 2 seasons immediately following I Love Lucy. December Bride broadcast 111 episodes through 1959. This is the greatest success of her career, and Byington became a household name as everybody's favorite mother-in-law. As a widow who lived with her daughter and son-in-law, complications ensued as the married couple tried to set Lily up for marriage. Then, Byington appeared with Tab Hunter in a 1960 episode of The Tab Hunter Show. She also guest starred as herself in the CBS sitcom Dennis the Menace, starring Jay North, in the episode titled Dennis's Birthday in 1961, with character actor Vaughn Taylor also appearing in the segment. From 1961 to 1963, Byington was cast as the wise, matronly housekeeper Daisy Cooper in the NBC Western series Laramie, starring John Smith and Robert Fuller. On Laramie, Daisy serves as a surrogate grandmother to orphaned Mike Williams, played by the child actor Dennis Holmes. After Laramie, Byington guest starred in Oh, Those Hats, a 1963 episode of Mr. Ed, playing Karen Dooley, an influential Beverly Hills columnist. She later appeared as Mrs. Jolly on Dennis Weaver's NBC comedy drama Kentucky Jones, and as wealthy J. Pauline Spaghetti in an episode of Batman in 1966. Her penultimate role before her death was in 1967 as Larry Hagman's mother on NBC's I Dream of Jeannie. Her final role was in 1968 as Mother General on ABC's The Flying Nun, starring Sally Field. Back in the late 1930s, Byington was engaged to be married to an Argentine industrialist. Following an engagement of a few years and several months, he died unexpectedly. Following this, she devoted her life to her career and family. Sadly, on September 7, 1971, Byington died of cancer at her home in the Hollywood Hills. At her request, her body was donated to medical research. For her contributions to the film and television industries, Byington has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a motion picture star at 6507 Hollywood Boulevard, and a television star at 6231 Hollywood Boulevard.